Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks for this fine Wednesday evening. This is a spoiler cast edition for Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 2 and 3. Covering a lot tonight.
Right, we're getting
And
ambitious.
yes. How's it going, Andrea?
I am very well. I'm good, feeling rested after my weekend away and ready to get back at everything, including podcasting.
Right. Nice. Did you do anything super exciting or noteworthy on your excursion?
Um, just like spent a lot of time outdoors, Obviously, we went up to Duluth and saw the North Shore. We were hiking around Rock Lighthouse, which is pretty famous. It's gorgeous. It's very beautiful. Um, then hiked around Park Point, which is kind of like it's like thin strip of sandbar. That's like the farthest out in Minnesota you can get, and the closest to Superior. It's like a stone's throw away from the shores of Superior. So you like hike out there. So that was pretty fun. Um, yeah, we took our dog with us and she was like an absolute
Hmm.
trooper. It was so great.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she went on all the hikes and was just like, totally there with us. It was really funny. She was just like a little kid. Like she would go out and we would go hiking and stuff. She would be all excited to be outside and like making friends with other dogs and other people. And we would like get her back in the car and she would just like flop in her bed and immediately just like pass out. So
Yep.
it was definitely like
That's good.
a view of like, this is what having children is like for sure. It was
Well,
just very
except sometimes they're not tired out, and then
Oh, true,
why aren't
true.
you tired yet?
I guess I can't always count on that.
Mhm.
But
Did
yeah,
you give them sugar?
that's right. Turn accusing glances on each other. Dare you?
Yep.
It was fun. And then we ate out 2 nights and went to Fitger's Brew House.
Yep.
So that was a cool place. Hadn't been there before.
Oh,
We got a
in the
crawler of
hotel,
their
right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
They're a hotel and then also a brewery. So we got a crawler of their it's Starfire Ale, which is like a
Okay.
pale ale. That was pretty good. Um, and then we went to OMC Smokehouse the other night, which holy crap was excellent.
That the
Really
is that
recommend.
the one that's off from everything else a little ways?
Yes,
It's
yes.
not. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Not on the main drag. It's like
Yep.
it looks like what maybe used to be like main drag and then Booth definitely just like exploded and shifted gears.
Hmm.
Um, it definitely looks like almost looks like a small town main street. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
like it almost looks like it's a separate part of the town. Um,
What's it called again? I want to look it up, see if it's what I'm thinking it was.
OMC, so like M as in Mary.
Oh, okay. That is. Let's see. There's pictures of this thing. Because yeah, there's one. It was heavy on the fish there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably the one.
We
Um,
yeah, we got like a smoked salmon salad and then we went rogue and got brisket tacos, which
went rogue.
quality. Rogue. I was trying to
Yeah, I think this is the one.
like keep around like, fresh fish and stuff like that because obviously, you're
Mm-hmm.
right in Lake Superior, but resist
Yep.
brisket.
Yep.
So, and then we
Uh,
tried. Okay, you had texted me when we were headed up Friday to go
mm-hmm.
to a distillery. I think it's called Vicra or Vicre.
Vicre, yeah.
Okay, we tried 3 different times to get in there. Like they had the
Closed all the
weirdest.
time.
Yes, they must have had the weirdest hours because of COVID. Because we just like kept missing it. It was so frustrating trying to get
They've
in there.
had short hours or weird hours um other times as well, I've
Okay,
noticed. Or I don't know what the deal is, but yeah. Because we'd been
yeah,
to
they had.
Duluth several times now, and we only got in there, I think, once. I mean,
Okay.
Every time we walk by it, and then
Mhm.
not open, I guess. So another time.
Yeah, they had like so they had like a paper sign that they had literally written on in marker for their hours. Because it was that changeable. And then they also had, because of COVID, they were only allowing one person in at a time. So
Oh,
like
well, that's
yeah.
okay. So what
I don't
what about the both of you? You're together.
Oh, yeah, I think they were allowing, like, one family in at a time,
Okay.
but, like, they said one person, and then I think they were just, like, letting families in or whatever, unless you were, like pretty sure they wouldn't have let, like, a family of, 6 upwards in, but because they were
I would have
just
been if
open in, like, the front area. It's pretty
mhm.
small.
You show up with 6 people. Yes, we are all family.
That's
How dare
right.
you? Can you
We live
not
in the
see the
same house.
resemblance? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's too bad.
we tried, but yeah,
Yeah.
uh, a weird situation,
Actually,
but we'll have to try again next time.
looking at that smokehouse, I don't think that's the one I've been to. So,
Oh, okay.
it looks good though. It looks good.
Definitely would recommend going if you get back there again anytime soon.
Yeah. I don't yeah, I don't know when we'll go there next. Um, no travel plans for me. I stayed home
Mhm.
mostly. Um, we had gotten some travel out of our system, obviously, or whatever. Now we want to be with
Right.
Dobby. So no long trips for a bit.
Yeah, me either.
Um,
My coworkers the other day were talking about all of their vacation plans around the 4th, having a Zoom meeting, and everybody was talking about, "Oh, like, I'm planning to do this, and I'm planning to do that," and then a bunch of them asked me, they're like, "Oh, Andrea, you were just on vacation, but are you doing anything for the 4th?" I said, "Nope, no vacation plans for the 4th, actually no vacation plans in the near future." Everybody just went silent. It was like this
mm,
awkward, like, entire minute pause of nobody talking, and I was like, "Wow, I really know how to bring down the room, I guess,
well,
in the virtual
you're like,
room."
well, I did go. I
No,
did
I was like,
go to
"I
wherever,
went, like, I'm good. I don't need to go
got it
again
done
for this."
early.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was not what anybody wanted to hear, clearly. So, I clearly know how to shut down the mood in a room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's if if you ask someone where, what their plans are, where they're going, and then they say nothing, it is like, well, okay, next person,
Right, you don't have anywhere to go with that, but yeah, I just thought we'd,
Yep.
like, move on to the next person, but nobody could
Yep.
of how to respond to me, so I was like, "Okay, well, sorry
Yep.
guys. Didn't mean to be a bummer."
We're gonna do a lake thing later in
Okay,
July, so we'll be at the lake for a little bit,
sure.
and hopefully get in some more travel next year. Then
Mhm.
I have to say I've missed a lot of the. I really missed the cons, the conventions this year, though.
Agreed.
I just yeah, that's too bad. I always look forward to those so much each year,
Yeah,
and that's a bummer because that would be often our filler. We get
right,
like one trip a year kind of thing, and then we fill it up with going to some conventions and stuff. So
right. Yeah, unfortunately, those are, like, already, I feel like, prime germ magnets and, like, places to get sick, much like airplanes, they're
mhm,
everybody kind of packed together is just, like, asking for a
mhm.
sickness, so get it, but yeah, it sucks that, we can't figure out a way to still do that.
Have you heard more about Renfest at all this year? Still on?
Still on, still hanging in
Okay,
there. We'll see.
all right. Um, you found some fun drink occasions.
Yes, very kind of odd and random. Um, yeah, so we're kind of in the middle of days here on the 24th. The 21st, this past Sunday, was World Smoothie Day, which I saw earlier that I think you have. Do you not?
Yeah, you can tell by the vessel
Yeah.
that it's contained within. It's not
Yeah.
particularly compared to like last week. It's not particularly fancy or showy. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, I would say most people probably don't put their regular smoothies in anything too fancy.
Yeah.
So,
It's just big, and it's like either a giant glass or this thing. This is like a ninja that already has the attachment thing. So,
why dirty two
yep,
dishes if you don't have to?
yep. It's good though. I did banana and we have these little like frozen fruit packs. I did some of that. Greek yogurt and a little bit of Cool Whip, and then a
Oh,
bunch of
okay.
tequila. So
And then what did you say?
a bunch of tequila.
Bunch of tequila, so you put alcohol
Yeah.
in your smoothie? I love it.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
it's alcoholic smoothie. Oh yeah, that I hadn't even considered not doing an alcoholic one.
This is how you smoothie. People use
Yeah,
use smoothies for, like, fitness or, like, put their protein
yeah.
powder. John's like, "Oh, tequila."
I go to Jamba Juice and grab a
Very
green or
flat.
whatever, and they're yeah. Excuse me, this smoothie is clearly missing a key ingredient. Um, what you doing?
Instead of
How about
instead
you?
of a booster shot, like an energy shot or
Yeah,
caffeine shot, can I just get an actual shot?
yeah. The wheatgrass shot.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. No, this could be a whole new thing for Jamba Juice that we're thinking of right here, They could
Hmm.
really expand their horizons.
Yep. Hmm. Well, do you have
Right.
any? Are you adhering to the days? It looked like you had wine there.
Yes. So I am adhering to the same day that you are. June 21st is also World Lambrusco Day. So I've got a glass right here.
Interesting. I've never
For
heard
yeah,
of that.
yeah. So for those who don't know, it's a sparkling red wine and it's a sweeter dessert wine.
Hmm. Okay. It's
So
good.
it is good. It's definitely not something I would drink, like, on the regular probably, just because it is a
Hmm.
sweeter wine. It usually, like, goes with kind of a dessert pairing, which my super, fancy palate has paired with, a s'more, because that's what we took camping this
Nice.
weekend, so
Yeah.
that's, been that
Can't beat
going.
that.
That's right. So, that was what I had for dessert this
I don't know
evening
if
with
you
my
were over when we were doing them or what event it was, but s'mores with stroopwafel. So you get cinnamon
Oh my
marshmallows
god.
and then like a chocolate bar and then stroopwafel on both sides, like a
Oh
strawberry
my god.
stroopwafel or something.
Yeah,
That's the way. That's the ticket.
yeah. I clearly would not have been because I am all on board for this. Like, I need to try this the next chance I get. Like, I'm serious. Chris is out right now, and I'm thinking about texting him that he needs to pick up some Stroop waffles because
It's
yes,
stroopwafel.
seriously,
Yeah,
that sounds so freaking good.
that's. Mhm.
Yeah,
It's, I mean,
never would have
if
thought of that.
something wasn't delectable enough, and
Mhm.
we're kind of northernizing, Europeifying the s'more a bit more.
Yeah.
So with our stroop.
You
So
remember, I mean, I don't know if you may or may not remember this. I remember around the time that we were planning our wedding, s'mores bars were like a huge thing for weddings. You know how like weddings get those like
mm,
trends like donut walls or
yeah,
cupcakes or I just remember like
yep,
s'mores bars being a huge trend and I always wished that like we had done that or we had gone to um a wedding that had done that because like some of the combos just sounded so good. Like, putting in Reese's for the chocolate or white chocolate or like
yep.
chocolate dipped
Hmm.
graham crackers and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just sounded awesome. Like people think of the
But
best things.
it would be great, but the logistics and the
Totally.
messiness. So you must first have, fire for people to
Right,
roast their marshmallows. So if you
right.
do a little sterno things or something on the tables or whatever, because you can't have them all crowded around a bar, it'll fill up. So you had to be able to let your
And not
table
many
kind of.
places, yeah, not many places actually have a fire pit that you could like build an actual fire.
Yeah. I that's a good point. I could see it being a thing where some of the reception goes later. It's kind of has a bunch of
Mhm.
stuff outdoors, and just having
Right.
those supplies there on a hand, so as a later night snack kind of thing.
Mhm.
I could see that.
Yeah, be
Mm.
cool. I wish we'd have done that because I already love s'mores and like every single variation on s'mores sounds good to me. I'm up for any of it.
I as it pertains to your wedding, I wish I hadn't started drinking so early. That's what I wish. Because I can't keep up with everyone else. And it's I just by the time the dance rolled around, I was so exhausted. I was so exhausted, so out of it. So yeah, I guess that'd be my regret.
It's it's when
But
you're in a wedding, it's a long day. Like it's hard to pace
mhm,
yourself sometimes, especially like depending on how early in the day you begin, either with just wedding festivities or drinking or both. It's hard to
yep,
plan out. You gotta hit kind of like the right momentum all the time.
yep, yep. Tricky stuff. All
Indeed.
right. Well,
Oh,
um,
we ranged pretty widely there.
yeah, I
Our
know. I
our discussion topic there. As I was just
um,
saying before the show, we tend to, cover the gamut of things, so great example
yep.
right there.
Well, in terms of a streaming network that has not really covered the gamut to this point,
Mm,
Apple TV Plus did announce a new show.
mm,
Are you excited about
they
this
did,
show,
love it.
Foundation?
I am excited mostly because I had heard of this book series, so Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I'd heard of it before, but I haven't read it. And to see it brought back up and like remind me that it's such an acclaimed series, reminds me that
Mhm.
I should read this. Like,
So, should we be reading Dune or should we be reading this? What do you want to do?
well, I feel like both because I really haven't read much
I
Asimov.
know.
So
Okay.
I feel like I should be catching up on this because it's like classic sci-fi that I really
Yes.
haven't delved that deep into.
Mhm.
I feel it's remiss of me. I feel it's remiss in my reading library personally.
I mean, technically, this is coming out next year, and supposedly, Dune is coming out this year. So I guess Dune still gets the priority. But I feel like
Mhm.
reading Dune is like a year's commitment, many year commitment,
True.
because there's what 5 of them, I think, 5 books, and they're all quite the tome.
Yes, they're all
Um,
quite lengthy.
mhm, yeah, that's what she said. But
I mean,
um,
yeah, I mean, I feel like at least we should read the first Dune, kind
yeah,
of get the origins, and then
yeah,
from there, knows how closely the movie will follow
right.
anything in following books. I mean, they only have so much time, and like you said, the Dune series is lengthy, so I can't imagine that they're going to pack too much into it.
Yep. Well, the event this week was the Apple event WWDC. I was very excited about for this event because I'm an Apple fanboy, whatever. But they dropped this trailer in the middle of it, and I have to say the trailer certainly sells it for me. Um,
Mhm.
I like that Moriarty is in this.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah. One other person that I recognized, but otherwise not huge names.
The
So
pace. Have you recognized?
who?
The pace. Clearly not.
Kind of the kind of is he kind of the stern looking dude, clearly
Yeah,
militant.
and will, yeah,
Yes,
down.
Randy.
It up.
Yeah, yes, the Lord of the Rings guy. Yes, yes, him. So yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, kind of
Um,
a newer cast. Um,
mhm.
that's pretty interesting.
But production value looks
Mhm,
spot on. I'm for any great new sci-fi. I'm excited, if we're going to be getting a few of these things because for a long time it's been in the mainstream Star Wars and Star Trek.
mhm.
And, where's the great epics in from other places? Like you say, we always talk about how John Carter tried to get started, Valerian tried to get started. Some of these they attempt to break in, but it never really works. And so it's come to shows. There's been, Battlestar Galactica or The Expanse. There's been some stuff like that. But as far as like really taking over mainstream culture in any meaningful way, uh, maybe this or Dune has a potential for that, I think.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I think it's popular culture has really been focused more on like adventure and fantasy, which can go hand in hand with sci-fi. I just feel like
mhm,
the majority of culture has been more in the fantasy, like Lord of the Rings type realm. You know,
sure.
the portion of
Um,
sort of like nerd culture that isn't focused around like superheroes and Marvel and DCU. Because obviously that's in there, but it's its own separate thing, really.
okay. Yep. Well, did you get to what? Did you see any highlights from the Apple event other than this?
I did not know. I'm
Okay.
sad to say I was really excited to get Apple TV, and I was really excited to start it out, and then now I've like really dropped off because I just haven't found like the show that's keeping me
Mythic
there.
Quest.
I know, but
Mythic Quest.
like nothing beyond that. No, I keep
I
searching for
know.
like another reason to go to Apple TV, and it's just not like getting me there yet. So
Yep. Yep.
I'm having a hard time with Apple
I
TV.
mean,
But this
and
this
honestly,
could definitely
there's a lot of stuff on there.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on there. Most of it hasn't really piqued my interest. I have a couple friends that said that Defending Jacob is really good. And
Okay.
then I know Tara liked Servant. So there
Okay.
are
Yeah.
things, but it's such a competitive space. You really have to. I mean, you have to make it look worth watching. I mean,
Mhm.
who has wants to spend the time just trying all these different shows because maybe
Exactly.
it's all right, you know?
Exactly.
So, well, I will just quickly mention that so I can transition to our next set of topics that at the Apple event, they did announce that the Xbox Elite Controller 2 is going to be compatible for Apple TV and that the Xbox uh, like adaptive controller will be as well. So that was their
Okay.
kind of little bit of gaming news.
Mhm.
And in the rest of the gaming world, we've had lots of things happening. Again, I feel like we missed some things because we had our little break and I didn't take enough notes or something, but that's fine. One that stood out for
No,
me was Crash 4. Crash 4
I
is
saw
coming.
that. It
Had a
was
little
an
trailer for
adorable
that. So
announcement.
I played some Crash when I was younger,
Mhm.
so I'm excited that the franchise is being revitalized. It's good.
Yes. It's very nostalgic for
Um,
sure.
I think we talked before. I think we talked about the Star Wars game already. Star Wars. Yeah, I think we did. But excited for that. And then tomorrow, the long-awaited event, at least on my part, is the Cyberpunk event.
Yes, I
Finally,
saw that.
after
Tomorrow's gonna
delays,
be a good
yes.
day.
So I might be, I might be working, but I'll hopefully be able to watch it. I
Mhm.
will watch it regardless, but it'd be nice to watch it live. So.
I do have to say that Summer Game Fest has done a really great job of like immediately posting clips from announcements or and recaps and things like that, like on their site pretty much right
Hmm.
away. So that's
Okay,
how I know
that's
I've
good.
missed some events just because I'm also working. But I've gotten to
Yep.
see this and that's pretty nice.
Well, and inevitably, a person's not interested in all of them.
Right.
It's not all
Exactly.
always something big.
Yeah, like they threw up the EA Sports demo that they did, and I was just like, cool, but pass for me.
Yep. Pass sports pun.
I
Did
know. It's terrible. Oh man.
um I did what was it? Oh, Baldur's Gate 3. I did watch the
Mhm.
new gameplay of that, which was a lot of fun. actually, because it's just such Dungeons and Dragons in game form. So he even
Mhm.
had the chat make a few decisions for him. Would ask where do you want to go or whatever, and
Sure.
um, yeah, that was fun to watch. That game
Cool.
can't come soon enough.
Yeah. It's
So
fun
yeah,
that they're at least getting a little bit of content out there that's gameplay and even interactive
yeah,
gameplay, just 'cause I feel like that's been pretty
yeah,
lacking. I mean, again, we all know why, but it's nice when you can get something
yep,
actually that out there.
yep. Well, that's about it for news. Unless there's something else that stood out to you this week that was that we didn't think of. You were,
No, I
I'm
mean,
sure, busy having fun outside, so the rest of the
was gonna say
news
I was
can shove
pretty
off.
off the
Yeah,
grid. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I feel like my weekend just like flew by, but I came back and was just totally disoriented. Like now I'm back in like the world again. Like I just spent 3 days totally off the map. Oh,
yep,
and catch up.
yep.
But pretty, I mean,
Nice.
there's definitely one big piece of news for tomorrow related to what we're about to say, which is that season 2 of Doom Patrol will be released.
Oh, it starts. Okay. All right.
Yeah, right?
Are they releasing in one big go at it, or is it weekly or something? Or
My understanding is they're releasing full season 2 on HBO Max
oh
and
my gosh,
DC Universe. That's my understanding, but I mean I could have that wrong. You know,
we we got pick up the pace. We're
HBO Max has not been like the
do
clearest about anything, so it would totally not surprise me if it was like,
sure.
they released the trailer and it's like season 2 is available. Just kidding, one by one.
Let's see, 16 episodes. It looks like in the first season. Holy
Mhm.
buckets! All right. Well, yes, Doom Patrol. Perfect. So we did get into episodes this week. Um,
That's right.
not exactly binge watching, but that's fine, and we gotta be able to talk about and break these down a little bit.
That's right.
What did you think of these couple episodes, episodes 2 and 3? Oh, we should throw up spoilers too, because
For
anyone that
sure.
has not seen Doom Patrol to this point, not seen Doom Patrol season 1, episodes 1 through 3, might want to tune out, unfortunately. But yeah,
I feel
what were your big takeaways?
I feel like it was really nice because we got to, in these 2 episodes, delve more deeply into backstories, um, while
Hmm.
also moving the plot forward. I mean, obviously, like, the biggest thing that happened was we were introduced to Cyborg. Um, that was I
Yeah.
mean, pretty much right away,
Hmm.
was one of our bigger developments, and he's obviously gonna be, joining the cast, I believe, for the rest of the season. So that was a big introduction. But then we also got introduced to more of Jane's personalities and got to see a little bit
Hmm.
more about what she can do, what her other personalities can do, and what they're like. We got to see how Jane kind of transitions from personalities, which is like a physical effect that you can see, which I really like,
Yeah.
because I feel like there have been other shows, where you have like a character with multiple personalities and they just sort of like make a movement and it's like a new person and you can't always tell exactly though what, personality is there. So I like the way that they did this,
Sure.
just having
Yeah.
us get a visual cue for okay, we're switching somebody now.
Because it's not always necessarily going to be, like you say, overly obvious who you're
Right.
dealing with specifically, unless everyone is a caricature.
Hmm.
So if it's a real person, not everyone is always shouting, or one person always crying and that kind of thing. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
having the
And Jane
physical embodiments.
Yeah, Jane seems to have several personalities that are angry, as kind of like the basis of their character. Um, so, just
Hmm.
having multiple characters that are, a little bit tougher, a little bit, edgier, it's not going to necessarily translate into separate personalities right away. So, Yeah, so I kind
Hmm.
of like having the little visual cues. And I also like that they started doing this episode where they have a little bit of physical difference happen to her, where she gets like a new hairstyle. She gets a little bit different
Hmm.
makeup. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Hmm.
Like what change comes over her physical body to make that happen, but it's again helpful as a viewer to see.
Because it's interesting because I had that impulse as well, sort of like, oh, how's that happen? Did you
Yeah.
put your hair up in pigtails? But that's silly, kind of, because on the one hand, she transforms into this giant fire lady, and
Right.
that to me is like, oh, well, yeah, she's that person, and she become, has this power, perfectly normal. But when the hair and makeup just change, I'm like, you know, I don't know, for some
Yeah.
reason, this small thing threw me, but
It's
I
well, and
like it.
it's something I think because it's like practical and we can grasp it because we do it. You know what I mean? Like I know what it's
Hmm.
like to apply makeup. So so I think of like how I would do it and then be like, but that would take me time to do. Whereas like I don't know how
Yeah.
to grow into a giant fire lady. So sure, it could happen in an instant. So
Yep.
yeah, it's weirder
Yep.
when it's something more normal.
Yep. So are you into I get just from like the tone I read into some of your things. Are you into the strangeness? Like, is that a thing
Yes.
that interests you? Okay.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And
Okay.
it for me works because of Mr. Nobody, Alan Tudyk, as the
Yeah.
narrator.
Yeah.
He just works for me. Like his whole like he sets the tone of like, he's sarcastic and he's witty and he breaks the fourth wall and he, narrates things that are going to happen, should happen. Um, you know, just has like funny little asides and it all kind of works for me. It's odd,
And he's
but
mean.
it is
He's
me.
bad, dude. So
Oh, I
yeah.
mean, he's the antagonist, so he better be mean.
Yes.
Otherwise, what
Yes.
are we
But I
watching?
yeah. So I think to me it's done well to balance, like, tread a line of very odd that becomes silly, but they don't leave you too long without giving you like an emotional gut punch in some way. And then to showcase that your villain, yeah, he's not just, coming out of a donkey farting. He's a mean guy. He's bad news. So I'm okay and enjoy this juxtaposition so far.
Yeah, it's something I think that they have to walk a careful line with for sure.
Hmm.
Um, because it could veer too far into, silliness or strangeness, but so far balance. Sure.
Hmm. So, what do you think about Cyborg jumping in the mix? How do you like him?
I like it. I mean, I've seen Cyborg in the DCU before,
Hmm.
as part of Justice League. And I like this more in-depth take because, he as we're reminded pretty constantly here, in Doom Patrol, he's not like the star. Not Aquaman, he's not Batman, he's not like the forefront.
Hmm.
People you say Cyborg and people don't automatically think like, "Oh, right, yeah, I know who that is." So it's kind of fun to get somebody who's not, quite as unknown as like Doom Patrol, but isn't like, your top tier like Superman, Batman kind of thing. It's fun to take a look into his psyche as well.
Yeah, and it's
I
a
like
realistic kind of thing where he's a kid. He's young yet. So I kind of like that take versus often, especially in the comics, it can kind of breeze over the fact that Robin is. I mean, it's ridiculous, really, that a child is Batman's sidekick and
right,
fighting all this crime and stuff. It's That is
right.
not realistic, even in the slightest. So, but they do this well here. He's a little bit older, he's got obviously his powers and stuff, and they're doing a good job of exploring that relationship with his father. They do
Yeah.
some of that in like Young Justice and different shows. Um, so I like what they're doing here with that.
Yeah, it's a dynamic that's semi reminiscent of, the chief then all the other, members of the Doom Patrol, where like the chief is sort of like a father figure, not somebody's like
Mhm.
direct father. And then it's kind of fun to
Yep.
see like Cyborg interact with like his actual dad and have him be like, kind of
Mhm.
a teenager and be reminded that like superheroes have dads and, dads,
Mhm.
try to ground them or set boundaries or, it's
Yep.
not something we see, pretty typically in a superhero verse. So it's fun.
Did so in the back, the reanalysis, um, reanalysis, what am I looking for? The when you're reanalyzing, we'll go with that of the his past in the lab with his mom.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
I thought it was kind of it seemed to me, and I don't know if it's just a production thing or if we're supposed to catch on to it. When he throws everything aside, the explosion comes from a very different direction. And
Totally.
so I'm like,
I got
hey, we're
that
gonna
too.
figure out something with like that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I love that sort of like it's kind of a terrible mystery he's bringing,
Hmm.
I mean, it's he killed his mom or, you know, obviously has made him think his mom has been killed, anything can happen, honestly, so I wouldn't be surprised to, have her come back in some sort of fashion, but for now,
It was
this is the
Nazis.
Oh!
We can
Oh
get to that
god.
later, I guess. But yeah.
But yeah, so we recap the whole, like, the night of the explosion that kills his mom, and yeah, he has his, like, temper tantrum, and he, like, throws the chemicals off to the side, like,
Hmm.
if I'm in the window, he throws it over here, but the explosion comes from, like, the front facing, you know,
Hmm.
angle that he now sees. That's pretty
And
interesting, and kind of
yeah.
terrible dark truth that Cyborg would not be exploring, I think, without the very pointed direction of Mr. Nobody and the sort of mental torture that he visits upon Cyborg when they go to that other dimension
Yeah.
inside a
Yeah.
phrase
I thought
I
that
never
was
thought
interesting.
I'd say. The
What's
other
that?
dimension, a phrase I never thought I'd say, the other dimension in the donkey. Like,
Yeah.
that's Doom
Right.
Patrol. You gotta roll
Yep.
with it.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I enjoyed that whole sequence. Um, it was something unique, how he's saying, and they continue forward and they
mhm.
continue forward until they move, um, and then yeah, the pain that he makes them all very um palpably relive is making them all think like they've been admitting that he's gotten to me, it's gotten in my head for sure. So
Yeah, I thought
but
that whole sequence kind of served a couple of purposes. One, obviously, it more firmly establishes Mr. Nobody as the antagonist. Um, and then two, it sort of explored some of his powers. Like, they were saying in the third episode, they were really explaining the background of Mr. Nobody, but that he draws on other dimensions for his power. It was sort of like an
mhm,
interesting, exploration into what he can do. And then also, it really thirdly establishes him not only as the narrator, but as an unreliable narrator, especially when he's
mhm,
sitting there insisting, like, um, no, you're so wrong to doubt the narrator. I'm the narrator. Think about that. I mean, I exist out of time and space, which is supposed to give you the idea of like, I'm not in the thick of it. And, I'm the omniscient narrator. I exist outside all of this. So I'm just faithfully reporting, what I see or what I think is happening. It really, for the audience, I think in that moment, him trying to convince everybody of that fact really does the opposite and makes them an
mhm,
unreliable narrator. So
yep,
we can see like where we should be wary as an audience, even as we enjoy him narrating. He's not always telling us the truth, or he's not always, just giving us straight up
yep.
fact.
He has a goal,
Yeah.
and whatever he says is to push towards that goal. So, um, I didn't see that you said that too about the explosion coming from the wrong direction. So I hope that pays off.
I do too.
Yep.
I do too. And I mean, I know it's kind of the obvious direction, but I really feel like, Vic's dad has got something to do with this.
Hmm. Okay.
Especially
I
because
feel like that would be a deviation from the comics if they did that, but
I don't know that
we'll see.
he directly, he like planted an explosion or something, but I mean, if we're going off of a little bit of the feel that I got, but then also, Mr. Nobody's mental torture, he has speaking through Vic's dad, um, and he's also like cutting up Cyborg and like doing
Mhm.
all these different things and like insinuating that there's more to the story than Cyborg knows, and his dad has something to do with it. So I feel like
Um,
he's got something, whether it's actual hand in whatever's going on or just extra knowledge that he's not giving.
yep, yep. Um, so pretty well talked about episode 2 and some of 3. I really enjoyed I really enjoyed both of them, but I have to say that it was I don't know which one I like more, I guess. But um I don't know what stood out to you in episode 3. I liked the place they went, Von Fuchs.
Yeah, Fook
I thought that
World.
was yeah.
So
I thought that
strange.
was again so unexpected. Let's go
Yes,
to, South America or whatever, and then here we go to these like very oddly German kind of people.
yeah,
um it just continues to surprise me, and then the guy they meet at the bus stop is so strange. It's very odd. I don't know where it's going.
yes.
um so and I liked it.
Yeah,
um
yeah. It's definitely. I mean, I know I said yeah, so I'm kind of being led all over the place. So in the first episode, we kind of had met von Fuchs, and he, was a Nazi doing experiments during World War II. That's how Mr. Nobody got his powers. But then, like, all of that was just gone, and I was like, oh, great, we're not going to explore the Nazi thing.
yep.
We are now. So here we
but
are, we're back at it. Um,
But are we? Because we had an episode that, and then it's pretty much dealt with, you know? So I thought that was the deviation from what you might expect is they get thrown in
I-
this thing, and it could have been a multiple episode struggle, battle, whatever thing, and it really seemed like we got into this place and we blew it up basically.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping that you are correct in that this is kind of the end of it. Or like we are revisiting it, it's something like neat and short like this, because I'm again, I've said it before, I'm like sick of us going to Nazis as the bad guys, and I'm sick of exploring the whole like, oh, Hitler was super into the occult, and that's why the Nazis had all these like different supernatural research teams and things like that. Like I just feel like
Hmm.
there's only so much of that I can take. I just
Yep.
want something different. I know that.
Yep.
Because I feel like every time it's supposed to be this like new revelation that like, oh, Hitler was super obsessed with the occult, and it's like, no, I've seen this everywhere.
Right. Yep.
So
Yeah. um I'm guessing it'll be done, but I
was
mean, it's just
was
what's
an
that?
interesting. It was like you said, it was an interesting angle into it, that like this whole
Hmm.
like theme parky,
Hmm.
world where you can just like buy some superpowers.
Yep.
They may not be very exciting or glamorous, but so I wrote this down. It reminded me so much of Deadpool. You know, Ajax has this like whole operation where like he can activate people's mutant genes and they become a superhero, and then
Oh,
sells them to
right.
the government, as like whatever they want to do, like experiments, soldiers, whatever. Um, but that's like a whole like pricey operation, and it's like underground, and he's really just like, operating in
Mhm.
total secrecy. And then this is sort of like the reverse image of that, where it's like totally out in the open and it's like advertised, and you can, go into this machine and buy
Yep.
yourself, magnetic feet or whatever you want. So
Yep. I enjoyed that because it was kind of like going to South America for really bad plastic surgery. It's
exactly.
like, oh, I want to get my boobs done, but I want to pay for it, so I'm gonna go get it filled with concrete down in South America. And
Yes.
so it's kind of this like, you know, yeah, get a ride on the bus to the middle of nowhere someplace, and here's this weird theatrical lab thing set
Hmm.
up, as opposed to like, oh, it's located in the city, and it's a bunch of shell corporations hiding it and a whole bunch of money behind it. This is like a dude that's been keeping this going for, generations now.
Right, right. Quite literally, um,
Hmm.
generations of himself, as we find out.
Yeah.
Uh, that is kind of an interesting um, uh, point that I would love to explore, like how in the world Von Fuchs was able to, I mean, he obviously kept himself alive in machinery, but then like was able to split his mind somehow or mind
Yeah.
control. I mean, it's interesting how he was able to like
Yeah.
be himself in all these different bodies. So
It's almost like the power he gave himself was, multiple man
yeah.
ability kind of thing. So, yeah, one of the bigger mysteries to me yet is still um, who is the chief, really? Why is, I mean, so we get now a little bit that he interrupted the procedure in in the lab when Mr. Nobody was getting things done to him, but it was successful. Was he just maybe upset that he figured he killed him, so then he couldn't have more done or something? But clearly he stayed alive and has an operation up and going. So I'm just not
Right.
sure yet why Mr. Nobody is so mad at, or what his deal is with the chief.
Right. Yeah. I'm that sort of intro puppet show that
Hmm.
we were shown
Went on for
at
4 hours.
right. um, obviously indicates why Von Fuchs would be mad at the chief because he
Yep.
shot and stole something precious, which I'm assuming is money or technology.
Yeah.
Um,
Plans to something that he didn't.
it
Yeah.
doesn't quite say, but yeah. So I mean, we get why he would be upset, but like, yeah, why would Mister Nobody be upset with him, and why would they be enemies? Um,
Yeah.
you
So,
know,
and I just wonder, do you think the chief has a power?
probably. I mean, can't imagine that he wouldn't, but obviously it
Yeah.
hasn't been revealed at this point.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
The
I
reason
see
I
him
thought
as a
maybe,
very like Professor X type figure, which
yeah,
obviously
yep,
strongly evoking with the wheelchair. Um,
yep.
I would imagine he has something.
To me, it seemed like Vic was hinting at him, like, why aren't you out on the front lines anymore, kind of thing. In their conversation, he's like, oh, there's lots of work to do, not on the front lines, basically. So to me, that implies he has some sort of history with being some sort of hero himself that was very out there before. Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't I guess he doesn't necessarily have to have a power to be a hero. I mean, if you think about like Batman, he literally
Sure.
has
Yeah.
nothing except for wealth and intelligence, which aren't,
Hmm.
nothing. They're not powers, say.
Right. Yep.
So
Yep.
gadgets.
Um, yes, gadgets, lots of inventions for sure.
But I mean,
Um,
clearly have that based on, he basically built Cliff, put
yeah,
his brain successfully transplanted into a robotic body. So he clearly has the
yeah,
intelligence
that's
to
pretty
figure
nuts.
that out.
He's like Forge from X-Men or something. He can build and fix anything or whatever, something like that. That'd be cool.
No, I thought maybe he had some sort of power in the way that like and we saw in the second episode, I think perhaps the very beginning of the third, where Cliff is watching the videotapes of all, not all, but most of Jane's personalities. And
Oh, that's in the middle of episode 2. Yep.
yeah, so the chief is just kind of in the room with all of those different personalities, like showing off their superpowers and just doesn't even flinch, it feels like. So it just, I don't know. In the
Yeah.
sense that, maybe he's got something up his sleeve that he's just not afraid to be there.
Yeah. So what do you think of seeing more of Larry's backstory? We focused a lot on that in this
Mm,
episode 3. That was kind of his moment to shine.
yeah. Um, I feel like it was interesting to see more of that, to learn a little bit more about Larry. It didn't quite shed a lot of light on I mean it shed the light, I guess, on his power, which is, the being inside him, negative man,
Hmm.
is, as far as we're aware now, an entirely separate entity. Um,
Yep.
kind of rides along in Larry and is able to take over in certain moments and just like do whatever he wants, and Larry has no control.
Yep.
That that's about what we got, but we didn't really move beyond that. I felt like we kind of dwelled a lot on that without getting somewhere next.
Yeah. I thought that would be maybe because Jane's advice was really good to him. How, you know, how do you live with all those people? And she says that I learned to respect them all or whatever and
Yeah,
admit that they have the right to exist. And so I thought, well, here, that can be a real turning point that if he took that to heart, that might be
right.
something that, he clearly needs to understand what this creature wants, make peace in some way. But now I feel like we might not get that for a bit because he had that moment in the machine where it's that false sense of hope. You're going to be split. You're going to be back to normal.
Yeah.
And so now he's, I'm sure, going to want that more than ever, or it'd be rejuvenated in him, that desire. So more trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Um I had a hard time with Larry being in the machine just because I felt like I didn't know exactly what it was doing. I felt like we
Right.
got a lot
Hmm.
of like he's in there, but was it really on? Was it really doing anything? Because isn't the purpose of the machine to either give you a superpower or do something that alters you in some way? And I didn't think it did that. So I wasn't sure quite exactly how it worked, him being in there and then him kind of coming out with no change that we know of so far.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. Maybe it wasn't really doing anything. And that was just the entity coming out of him and like keeping him, or maybe the machine was able to keep him sustained without the entity in him or something like that. And
Right?
just the entity knew he couldn't get out. So now is the moment you can come out and like kind of face him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't thought of that, but maybe something like because the first when you go in there, it's like you're expecting someone's going to come over and throw the switch or whatever.
Right, yeah. But he
There's
just like
nothing,
grabs
he
the
just
pole
yeah,
activated.
oh, self turning on. Yeah. Feel like
And they
you
didn't
want
have a
those
whole lot of
controls on the
security
outside.
and no security at Fook World. Nobody stops him
In
from
that in
touching the
that place,
machine.
yeah, they're all in the basement.
Yeah,
Tons of them to face Cliff in the basement,
right, which is maybe the
which
problem
isn't.
with one person trying to omnisciently run the entire place. Like you have no
Yeah,
independent, people who can just go around and be like, oh, I should just do a sweep of the you know lab or
yep,
whatever.
right, yep. Cliff in the basement was a interesting thing. We got to see how strong his body really is.
Mhm.
Um, so that was interesting. But then obviously the take of he found his daughter's number and then crumple it up because he's now, ashamed of what he's done and that kind of thing.
I thought that
So,
fight scene was um much more real, and I think we're used to seeing superhero fight scenes be. Um, it was kind of awkward. It wasn't. I mean, it was a little choreographed, but not terribly. It wasn't like neat and precise, and just like punch a bad guy and they fall down. It's like no, he really underestimated the limits of his power because he was like punching people and crumpling their faces or ripping them in
yep,
half, and so that's not something that we usually see from our heroes. So,
yep.
I
Um,
thought that was
when you say that,
oh, go ahead.
no, if you got another point on it, yeah.
I was just gonna say I liked it just because, like I said, I thought it was awkward, bloody but real and very
Hmm.
visceral. And we tend to look at fight scenes as something cool and admirable, and wow, look at how strong they are. But Jane coming in at the tail end of that fight and looking at him with kind of this like revulsion, like yeah, superheroes at the end of the day are perpetuating violence, and we shouldn't always just be like super cool, like
Hmm.
carried away, and they maybe need that sort of check sometimes.
Well, the first bit of that reminded me of the best fight sequence ever put to film that I can think of in my mind is in Daredevil season 1, and that's where they do it explore that. I won't give any spoilers on it, but basically it's um, Daredevil's kind of just getting into the game and not knowing what to expect. And he has to take on a whole bunch of people, and they do this really great thing where usually in movies, it's like whenever a hero goes and they dispatch a whole bunch of henchmen, they're down for the count, and then they have a one big long fight with the boss,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And the boss lives or something, and all their other henchmen seem like they're just dead, or I don't know, they're just out of the picture. And so in this
Right.
one, he's fighting and going in this hallway scene, and everybody's getting tired. He's knocked someone down, and then they like kind of stumble back up, and so they're not quite out of it yet. And it's a great, still obviously very stylized thing, but it's
Mhm.
a little different take, a little more realistic. So
Yeah,
Alan says a long
yeah,
cut. Yes, it's a very long one shot a sequence as well. It just makes it impressive as in another way.
yeah. Like you said, I really liked that these fight scenes seem real. I mean, as real as you can make them. I mean, there's still people fighting with superpowers, which is not the norm. Um, but you can at least try, and it
Yeah.
does seem like people tripping over each other, like kind of swaying back up and being like, God, I gotta still try and do this or whatever. Something
Yep.
like a real person would do rather than just be like, oh, I took a punch to the face. I'm gonna like artfully spin myself to the ground and just be like knocked out. So,
Let's see. I also liked Jane's fight. That was cool. Again, the throwing the words, the teleportation. Obviously, we learn there's a teleporter. That was again another throw me for a loop kind of thing. Oh, let's just teleport down there. Um,
right. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like conveniently revealed, but not in the most convenient way. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like you have a situation arises where like it needs one of Jane's personalities to use her superpower, but it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'll totally just like switch personalities and just like teleport us all down there. It was like, well, I mean, she decided that she wanted to come out and just take us there because she was annoyed. So I guess that sort of worked
Mhm.
out. But yeah, it didn't feel too contrived or designed. It was like, oh yeah, okay. Like I could see somebody getting just so annoyed that they're just like, "But let's go."
Yep. I see you wrote, "Are we bored with superheroes with only one power?" And I'm thinking, we a lot of superheroes don't have one power. It's The ones that have one power, it's because it's like such an incredible power.
Hmm.
Like Professor Xavier or Jean Grey or whatever, they're telepathic. So that's very powerful. You don't need anything else with that. In fact, Professor X is so powerful that we're going to put him in a wheelchair to make it harder because his power is so great. Magneto, as Luke would always say, definitely the most powerful mutant in existence to be able to control and manipulate magnetic fields. He doesn't need
Mm,
anything else. He can literally do basically anything, just start things on fire, whatever. When you control magnetic fields like that, you're just, I mean, they underutilize. To his point, it would be they underutilize the real power that he would possess. So he
right.
doesn't need another power. He basically has them all anyways with that.
Right. Yeah. It's usually like, oh, let's just like bend some metal or like, move it around or whatever. You don't really like get to
Hmm.
see the full extent of how powerful that actually is.
Yeah, they're not they're not like using their imagination enough in some ways. Like they do, they branch out a little more in some of the X-Men movies, but it's they made it different in that they didn't say he controls metal. You know, he is the master of magnetism, but he controls magnetic fields and energy. So that's yeah, counts as omega level. Yes, definitely omega level. But then you look at people like Wolverine, who to stand a chance, they need a few powers, kind of thing.
Right.
So he has the enhanced senses and smell and stuff, and then the regeneration, and then on top of that, they had Adam, give him claws as well. So he's got a few different tricks up his sleeve. So yeah,
I just, I felt like
um,
with Jane, kind of being like, oh, when she's in Fook world, kind of
mhm,
bargaining for payment, and she's like, I have 64 different personalities, all of which has their own unique
yeah,
superpower. Um, and it just was like, whoa, like this feels like, you know, like Rogue, but next level, or something where it's like you can have like all of these multiple powers, or you have like one mutant or one superhero with like this possibility of having like every single power that's even possible. It just feels like we kind of have to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger that
yes.
way.
She's definitely a convenient writing thing. you
Hmm.
know, for sure. She can do anything at this point. Her potential is endless. With given how many personalities she has, someone could always come from the depths of the underworld or whatever it was, and have the magical answer. So they're
Exactly.
going to have to definitely be careful that it's not a get out free card all the time. um, that is for sure a tough balancing act because in doses like this where the teleportation, I thought that worked. But if you're gonna set up a tense scenario, like how are we gonna ever get out of this? We're all about to die, and then miraculously, you know, that's bound to happen at some point because you're gonna have a personality that is buried
Right.
way deep down in that doesn't expose itself except for in the most traumatic or some other weird situation, and so you're granted a couple of those, but use
Hmm.
them wisely, kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly. Otherwise, it just gets boring because
Yep.
it's like, oh well, just like invent another superpower and she's got it. Um, yeah, it's just like it was a little bit hard for me to. I was really interested in Jane's like 64 personalities, but then like have each of them have a super power just felt a bit much. Like, how would that even happen? What
Hmm.
now we know due to the third episode, that she's had a traumatic past and she's been experimented on by scientists, and this is how she kind of her mind fractured and she developed all these personalities. But what kind of experiment would allow you to do that, have 64
Yep.
personalities with superpowers? Just felt like a lot to
Yep.
see.
Um, what's this? What the hell is that new guy? You mean the dude that was
Yeah,
waiting at the bus stop? I
yeah.
mean,
So I mean,
is he gonna be a threat now, or is he just like
yeah,
he's just gone? That's it.
What is he? So he, like, at the very end of the episode, steps out of the machine that he was in somehow without anybody noticing, and getting this superpower, like, what he thought was gonna be his magnetic feet, and he comes out of the machine, and he's got, like, celery hands and a velociraptor head and, like, a tree trunk leg. Like,
Mhm.
what just happened? What is he?
Yep.
And is he gonna be like, kind of a like a side antagonist that, maybe like the Doom Patrol has to face before they reface Mr. Nobody again? Is he gonna be just like crazy insane? Is he gonna be Mr. Nobody's henchman? What?
I think he's just gonna be
Oh,
gone. I think it's a fun thing at the end, like that will because you're gonna leave us wondering. I was, well, what happened to the other guy? And there we go. That's what happened to the other guy. Um, yeah,
nothing.
I envisioned it as that he paid for his procedure and they put him in there, and then all chaos broke loose
Right,
because as he steps out, like, was I supposed to be in here this long?
right.
And I don't think he was. I don't think he was.
I'm thinking no. I'm thinking no. Yeah, the
But yeah,
the
that was
whole,
funny.
like, velociraptor head was just hilarious, and this guy's, like, totally
Mhm.
into it too. He already clearly was, like, a little mentally unstable, and then, like, at the end when the velociraptor head hisses at him and he's just like, "Ha! Like, this is awesome." Yeah,
I feel like
really not worth
um, yep. I feel like everyone's powers are kind of coming into picture. I mean, in the first episode, they sort of lay out, wow, you guys are useless. How terrible. And it's kind of been Cyborg that's sort of like sparking to, try to put them together, be a little motivating. He's more experienced at this kind of thing. And so we know what Cyborg's abilities are, and they're great. Now we see firsthand how deadly Cliff's strength can be and vulnerability. Um,
it.
we see Jane obviously is basically our atomic bomb. She could
Mhm.
be, or like you say, a dark phoenix or something. Maybe you're comparing him to someone, but that kind of thing where lots of potential there for explosive power. Um, for Larry, obviously, we can see abilities if he's ever able to make peace with and cooperate in tandem with the other entity that's with inside him. So we see
Mhm.
that potential. And I was seeing now on um what's her name? Blanking on her name. Um well, the other lady, this movie star. Um
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that I can see her being basically a Mr. Fantastic. Because in episode 2 we saw like very small size being amoebaed into the donkey, like eye first.
Mhm.
So you can imagine that being quite useful if she's able to control that in a meaningful way,
Yeah,
where you be able to just like swing your arm out in a giant like whip of a thing and morph yourself in any fashion. So
right, or
the team
contain.
is making sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The team is, you can see where a training and a stable existence could make this work.
yeah. Yeah, I think, the second episode, there's, like, a line about Rita has, after the whole disaster where Cloverton disappears inside the donkey, and she's like, "This is what happens in the world when we try to live in it." And they're clearly, like,
Mm,
resistant to being out in the world because they have no clue that, like,
yeah.
do any good, and Cyborg is kinda like the force that draws it out that says, "No, like, I can be in the world and do good, like, you can too, you just have
Yep.
to figure it out." Like, you can't just let one setback just be it for you. So,
Yep. Right. For sure. Well, anything else you'd like to address on these?
yeah,
Overall impressions? Did you have fun with them?
I
Something we
did.
missed?
Um, so Cyborg's dad, I can't remember his first name, but when they were kind of talking once, Cyborg had gone, to Cloverton to, figure out what had happened to the chief and things like that, and they were communicating, um, yeah, his eye, um, it reminded me a little bit of, like, a stage dad, and,
Hmm.
in the sense of like he kept pushing Cyborg to be like, stop wasting your time over here with these things. Like you have bigger and better things to do, and you want to get on the Justice League, don't you? And like,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I
Okay.
just felt like such a stage dad. Like just
Yeah.
oh,
Hmm.
go on, we're meant for bigger and better things. Like you're moving up in the world of showbiz, and you got to play with the
Yep.
A-listers now. So I don't know. It was really funny to me to like see that conversation. That was just yes, thank you, Silas. I knew it began with an S. I just could not think of his name. Um, so Silas Stone, yes. I don't know. I just something about that struck me as so weirdly like normal, like the
Okay.
superhero version of normal. It's like, oh, my son has
Yeah.
superpowers. Like, why don't we like maximize them and use this? And
Yep.
can one day join the
Absolutely.
Justice League. So yeah,
Yep. And it's like if it's not important to you, well, it is important to me, kind of
I,
thing.
I,
Yeah. When I saw you write stage dad, I thought you meant like a fake dad, like he's a stand-in or
oh
something. But I get what
no,
you're
no,
saying now. Yes,
I know
that
where
makes
some
sense.
moms like push like beauty pageant daughters to like go out
Yes.
there and
Hmm.
like smile and win the crowd over and like
And live the yeah, live the
yeah,
life I couldn't live. I'm gonna live
exactly.
vicariously through you. Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly how
Hmm.
he feels to me. Like he almost wishes like he could be the one. Like I think he likes being
Yep.
in charge of Cyborg, like in charge, and like directing him. And he's almost like half his son, but half an experiment that he's,
Yeah.
controlling.
He looks to him like a product in a way, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
So
So it's very
yeah.
like, let's go test this theory I have, or let's go try out this mission so I can see, what this is or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so he's just kind of a very interesting like, amalgamation of different, you know, facets of his personality, like the scientist, the stage dad, the kind of regular dad, where he's like, "Oh, if you're good and you do good in this next mission, I'll give you the upgrades." It's like totally a bad teenager.
Yeah.
If you're good for the night, I'll give you the keys to the car. Like, I don't know. Well, that was kind of funny to me. It was just like a little bit of,
Except he's like in his mind, it's so much more
oh,
invasive, you
I
know?
know. It's like, yeah, it's like, how do you tabs on a teenager who's a cyborg? It's like, oh, I thought I had privacy mode enabled. Nope,
I
dad has.
know how many times he's said that, yeah. I think
So,
I'd enlist a separate programmer to like tweak with the privacy mode settings because
right,
clearly that's not working.
right, clearly.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of moments like that that, ground the show, I think, a little bit and bring back some of the fun.
Hmm. Well, we've got to do our gladiatorial moment where we thumbs up or thumbs down the continuation of watching Doom Patrol.
Right.
So on a three, one, two, three. All right, I gotta just find the frame. All right,
All right.
that's good. Yep.
Stage dead. Find your frame, John. Find your frame.
Yeah. The camera's over there, son. Camera's over there. Yeah.
Speaking of the microphone
Okay,
son.
well, good.
Oh yeah,
We
yep, I like it. I think it's fun, and I definitely think we're still in the early stages of revealing people's personalities, where the show is going to go. Who is the chief really? Is he to everybody? What maybe powers does he
yep,
have? Lots of questions to be answered.
yep, for sure. Well, cool. That's Doom Patrol season 1, episodes 2 and 3. A little bit of back to 1 in there as well. So we'll keep going for next week. Um Maybe we can do another 2 episodes. That
Mhm, I
seems reasonable, yeah.
think so.
Um we'll be back for a regular full everything else episode. I think Saturday, I think will probably work for us. So I guess we haven't talked about it, but I think that's the usual day. We'll let you know on Twitter or something
Mhm.
ahead of time. But in the meantime, I hope everyone has a good evening and enjoyed the show. You should follow us on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Check out our website. I want to thank Killing the Flower for our theme song. And you should check them out on Instagram and Spotify. That's where the actual music is. Um, anything else? Anything else you would like to promote, Andrea, or tell people where to find you, or get a hold of you and be like, Andrea, you're so wrong about this thing, or Andrea, you're so right about this thing.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm also obviously on Twitter myself, at Andrea upon Avon because I'm a very nerdy Shakespeare geek. I'm on Facebook, and I think that's all the social. No, I'm on LinkedIn and something else that I can't remember. But yeah, at me if you
All right.
have opinions about me and Silas Stone and calling him a stage dad. Um, willing to throw down and engage. So let me know.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me, Andrea, and we'll see you later in the week.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.